Okay, let's get into this. If you really want to understand the secret language of jazz, what makes it sound so rich and complex, you have to look past the real basics. We're not talking about simple three-note chords or triads, as musicians call them.
Right. Those are great for, simple folk songs or pop music, but they don't give you that signature jazz color.
Exactly. That's not where the magic is.
The big shift happens when you add a fourth note, the seventh.
The seventh.
Yeah. And this note, you place it a third above the other three, and it creates this very specific kind of musical tension. So a seventh chord is just four distinct notes.
Okay.
You build it by stacking intervals, which are just distances between notes, on top of one starting point, the root note.
And that tension is really the key.
It is. It's the foundation for all the cool improvisation you hear in jazz.
It's like going from drawing with three primary colors to suddenly having this huge box of crayons. We need to know those colors.
Yep.
Let's start with the three most common chords, because each one has its own mood. It's like an instruction for how you're supposed to feel.
A great way to put it. We should start with the most stable one, the major seventh chord.
Okay.
This is the one that sounds bright, peaceful, maybe a little dreamy. It's like a musical sigh of relief.
So how is it built? What's the structure?
It's built with the root note, a major third, a perfect fifth, and this is the important part, a major seventh.
So if we start on the note C,
the notes would be C, E, G, and B. The whole structure is designed to be, really pleasing to the ear, but with a little bit of complexity.
and that dreamy feeling comes from the relationship between the first and last note, right? The root and that major seventh.
Precisely. The distance between the C at the bottom and the B at the top is 11 semitones. That interval creates this soft friction. It's a gentle dissonance that just resolves into itself.
Which is why you hear it at the end of a song.
Exactly. To create a feeling of arrival, you'll see it written as C much 7 or sometimes just with a little triangle symbol.
All right, let's move to the heavy hitter. The engine of jazz and blues. This is where it gets really interesting. The dominant seventh chord.
This is probably the most important chord type, not just in jazz, but in almost all Western music for the last few hundred years.
Wow.
Its structure is almost the same as a major seventh, but we change one single note. It has a root, a major third, a perfect fifth, and a minor seventh.
So for C, that would be C, E, G, and.
B flat.
And that B flat just changes everything. When you hear a dominant seventh, you can feel it pulling you forward. Why is that?
It's basically a musical question mark. It sounds bluesy and urgent because the distance between the third, the E, and that seventh, the B flat, is really unstable.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, your ear just knows it's not home yet. It creates this powerful desire for the chord to move, to resolve somewhere stable.
Because it's the motor driving the song.
Absolutely. That pull is why it's a key chord in big band music and bebop and definitely in the 12-bar blues. When you listen to a classic blues song, you're hearing this chord push the music forward again and again.
And its notation is simple.
Very. Just the letter and the number 7. C7.
Okay, so we've got peaceful and we've got urgent. What about when the music needs to be more reflective or just cool?
That brings us to our third chord type, the minor seventh chord.
The cool chord.
Right. It gives you a mood that's mellow, maybe a little sad. It's structurally similar to the dominant seventh, but we flatten the third note. So it uses a root, a minor third, a perfect fifth, and a minor seventh.
Can you walk us through that on C?
Sure. It would be C, E flat, G, and B flat.
That E flat.
That's the one. That minor third gives it its distinctive darker quality. But here's the key difference with the dominant 7. This chord is stable.
Doesn't need to go anywhere.
Exactly. It doesn't feel tense. And because of that smooth, stable feeling, it's often the starting point for a chord progression, especially in those slow, beautiful jazz ballads.
I see. And how do you write that one?
You'll see it as CM7 or sometimes C7.
So those three, major, dominant, and minor, are the fundamentals. You could write a ton of songs with just those. But jazz musicians, they want more complexity. They want to, throw a wrench in the system. And that brings us to the tension chords.
And what's so fascinating here is how these next two chords create this crunch, this instability that classical music usually tries to avoid. It's a step into really advanced harmony.
Okay, let's start with the half-diminished seventh. Even the name sounds mysterious.
Its structure is a root, a minor third, and a minor seventh, just like the minor chord we just talked about.
Right.
But the crunch comes from a diminished fifth. So on C, the notes are C, E flat, G flat, and B flat.
Wait, what does diminished fifth actually mean?
A diminished interval is just, well, it's an interval that's been flattened one extra step. Think of it as a sound that's being pulled in two directions at once. That G flat is highly dissonant. It just won't let the chord sit still.
So what's its job in a song then?
Its main job is to build momentum, especially in minor keys. It's often used to lead right into a dominant chord. It's like an unstable bridge that forces the music forward.
Is that what minor 7 flat 5 means?
Exactly, that's its other name. Or you'll see a small circle with a line through it.
And now for the most dramatic one. The one that sounds completely ungrounded. The fully diminished 7th.
This one is really unique structurally. It's built by stacking 3 minor third intervals on top of each other. It's perfectly symmetrical.
So on C, that would be C, E flat, G flat, and what's next?
And B double flat.
Whoa, B double flat. It sounds like you're running out of notes.
Oh, yeah. We use the double flat just to keep the structure of stacked thirds consistent, and it sounds extremely dramatic. It's the highest level of tension we've talked about.
Okay.
But here's the amazing part. Because it's so symmetrical, with every interval being the same size, there are actually only 3 unique, fully diminished chords in total.
3 in all of music.
Yep, across all 12 keys.
That's like a musical Swiss Army knife.
It really is. It makes it so versatile. It's usually a quick passing chord to connect 2 other more stable chords, and it can lead the music into 4 different keys from just one shape. You'll see it written with a small circle next to the note.
So we have these 5 moods, 5 functions. How do they actually fit together to make music that sounds logical instead of just a bunch of random tense sounds?
It's all about context, and the most famous context, the absolute roadmap of jazz harmony, is the 2-5-1 progression.
2-5-1. Sounds like a math problem.
It is the homework, but it's brilliant. The progression moves from a minor 7th chord, that's the 2 chord, to a dominant 7th chord, the 5 chord, which creates maximum tension.
And then it lands.
And then it lands, it resolves on a major 7th chord, the 1 chord, which provides that ultimate release.
So it's like a tiny story. You set the scene, create conflict, and then a happy ending.
That's a perfect analogy. That movement creates the logical, satisfying arc that listeners just love. Most jazz standards are built almost entirely out of these little 2-5-1 groups chained together.
But if they all use it, how does it not get repetitive?
Well, that's where the musician's creativity comes in. The roadmap is the same, but the soloist can take a different route every time, and the rhythm section can change how they play the chords.
Okay, let's talk about that. How you play them. This is called voicing, right? Especially for pianists.
Right. Voicing is just the specific way you arrange the notes. A jazz pianist almost never plays a 7th chord with the root note at the bottom, all stacked up.
Why not? It seems like the most basic way.
It sounds a little heavy, a bit academic. Plus, they think about efficiency. The bass player is already playing the root note way down low.
So the pianist doesn't have to.
Exactly. They can leave the root out, maybe even the 5th.
Leaving out the root sounds so strange.
It does, but the most important notes, the ones that define the quality of the chord, is it major, is it minor, are the 3rd and the 7th. So by just playing those, the chord sounds lighter and clearer. It blends better. They often use what are called shell voicings, with just the 3rd and 7th in the left hand.
What about guitars? They have 6 strings. How do they handle all this?
Guitarists are all about efficiency and mobility. They also focus on the 3rd and the 7th, but they use small 4-note chords on the middle strings.
Not big. 6-string chords.
Rarely, no. The key is using movable shapes. So you learn one physical shape for a minor 7th chord, and you can just slide that same shape up and down the guitar neck to play it in any key.
And when a guitarist is backing up a soloist, that rhythmic playing.
That's called comping. They're not just strumming chords, they're providing the harmony and the rhythmic pulse. They create this incredible energy for the band.
Let's zoom out a bit to the history. Because these chords existed before jazz, but jazz musicians completely changed how we hear them.
That is the critical point. I mean, classical composers like Bach and Mozart, they used the dominant 7th chord constantly, hundreds of years ago.
But they had rules.
Very strict rules. For them, a dominant 7th always had to resolve to a simple 3-note triad. If it didn't, it was considered a mistake.
So what did the early jazz musicians do in the 1900s?
They smashed the rules. They started using 7th chords as stable sounds, chords that didn't need to resolve.
So the tension could just hang there.
It could hang there. And that open-ended feeling was revolutionary. It's what gave jazz its modern floating sound.
And that impact is still with us.
Absolutely. That sound got absorbed into everything. Pop, rock, R&B. When you hear a really complex, layered harmony in a song today, you're hearing the legacy of those musicians who decided tension itself could be beautiful.
Okay, so for anyone listening who wants to master this language, how do you practice this effectively?
3 essential ways. First, you have to play them as arpeggios.
Meaning one note at a time.
One after another, yep. This forces your hands to memorize the physical shape of the chord. You need that muscle memory.
Getting it locked in makes sense. What's next?
Second, and people always skip this, you have to sing the notes of the chord. You have to train your ear to hear the difference. Is that a dreamy major 7? Or an urgent dominant 7?
So you can recognize it instantly.
Your inner ear has to be as trained as your fingers. It makes you a much better improviser.
And finally, the last step to connect it all.
You have to practice with a metronome and use digital apps or backing tracks. Loop those chord progressions, especially the 2-5-1, and just practice playing over them.
Over and over.
That repetition is what makes it feel like a natural language, so you can just use them without having to stop and think about the theory.
Seventh chords really are the difference between simple music and sophisticated harmony.
Yeah.
Understanding them is the key to unlocking the entire language of jazz.
It is. The way these chords connect, creating tension and then giving you that satisfying release. That's why jazz still moves people today. It's music about motion and emotion.
Good luck with your studies.